been several weeks since the shocking arrest of music mogul Sean "Diddy" Combs on federal charges, and life behind bars is nothing like the luxury he's used to. Diddy, the man who once ruled the world of music and lived a life of opulence, is now facing the harsh realities of prison life at the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Brooklyn, a place often described as a living nightmare. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn has gained a notorious reputation for its harsh conditions. It's a place described as hell on earth by former inmates and legal experts alike. Inmates here deal with overcrowded cells, subpar food, rampant violence, and severe shortages of basic necessities. The MDC is the polar opposite of Diddy's glamorous lifestyle of private jets, luxurious homes, and star-studded parties. But now, Diddy isn't at a five-star resort. He's facing the reality of life inside a federal detention center. No more champagne bottles or designer clothes. His current wardrobe consists of a jumpsuit and rubber shower shoes, and his meals are the same barely edible food served to all inmates. Former inmate Esco, who spent time in the MDC, described the facility as terrible, saying, "The food is terrible, the inmates are terrible, the guards are terrible, everything about it is terrible." Esco's sentiment reflects what many others have reported about the harsh realities within these walls. The conditions are nothing short of abysmal, and for someone like Diddy, the transition from mansions to a cramped cell has undoubtedly been a major shock. One of the worst parts of MDC is the rampant overcrowding. Cells are packed with far more inmates than they were designed to hold, leaving prisoners with little room to move or even sit comfortably. The lack of space, combined with the stress of constant supervision, creates a tense and often violent environment. Diddy is no stranger to confrontation, but the stakes are different here. In a place where fights can break out over something as small as a look, Diddy will have to navigate a world very different from the red carpets and VIP sections he's used to. Diddy's arrest came as a shock to many. The charges against him are severe: federal sex trafficking, racketeering, forced labor, and transporting women for prostitution. These accusations paint a dark picture of his personal life, one that contrasts starkly with his public image as a successful businessman and music icon. Despite offering a whopping $50 million bail package, which would have involved strict monitoring, Diddy was denied bail twice. Federal prosecutors expressed serious concerns about witness tampering, given his vast wealth and influence. One of the most shocking revelations came from a woman who described her fear after filing a civil suit against him. The case against Diddy stems from allegations that he operated what prosecutors describe as a criminal enterprise involving sex trafficking and forced labor. The indictment accuses him of using his influence to coerce women into participating in elaborate sex parties, referred to as freak-offs, where drugs and alcohol flowed freely, and boundaries were regularly crossed. These parties allegedly took place in luxury settings, but were anything but glamorous for those involved. Authorities have also highlighted Diddy's long history of alleged abuse. From physical assaults to manipulation and control, the indictment lays out a disturbing pattern of behavior that spans years. Federal prosecutors even seized more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant during raids on his properties, which they believe were used in these freak-offs. And now, Diddy sits behind bars, awaiting trial, a long fall for someone who used to command the world's biggest stages. As a high-profile inmate, Diddy is housed in the Special Housing Unit, or SEHU, where prisoners are held in isolation to ensure their safety. Life in the SHU is harsh, to say the least. Inmates are kept in their cells for 23 hours a day and only allowed out for short periods of recreation. There's no interaction with other prisoners, and privacy is non-existent. Diddy isn't receiving any special treatment due to his celebrity status. He is under constant surveillance, even having to wear tearaway paper garments to prevent self-harm. There's no pillow on his bed, just a blanket and a hard mattress. His only source of entertainment is a small radio, which he's allowed to use for limited periods. While some people might assume that celebrity inmates like Diddy receive better treatment, that's simply not the case. The isolation can be mentally taxing, and according to experts like Larry Levine, inmates in the SHU often struggle with anxiety and depression. Some even end up on psychiatric medication to cope with the extreme loneliness. Levine, a former inmate who now helps other prisoners, notes that being in the SHU can break even the toughest individuals. The isolation is something that really eats away at you, Levine explains. You're alone with your thoughts for most of the day, and if you don't have a strong mental game, it can take you to some dark places. Reports indicate that Diddy has been placed on suicide watch, something that's common for high-profile inmates who suddenly find themselves in the kind of environment where stress and fear are constant companions. While his attorneys insist that Diddy is not suicidal, the fact remains that he is under constant observation. This isn't a life of luxury, this is survival. Another major challenge for Diddy is the impact that being in the SHU has on his legal defense. Communicating with his legal team is much harder behind bars. All interactions are monitored, and privacy is a luxury he no longer has. His attorneys can only meet him in designated areas, and his access to electronic devices and legal documents is extremely limited. This is a significant problem, especially for someone facing charges as serious as Diddy's. His case involves massive amounts of digital evidence, and without proper access, preparing a solid defense becomes even more difficult. According to federal trial attorney Philip Hamilton, this lack of access to critical information severely hampers Diddy's ability to mount a defense. Moreover, Diddy's defense team faces the challenge of preparing for trial while working around the prison schedule. Communication is limited to specific times, and because Diddy is in the SGU, any meetings have to be closely monitored by prison officials. This means there's little opportunity for privacy or in-depth discussions about the case. The lack of reliable Wi-Fi in MDC Brooklyn further complicates matters. Prosecutors have reportedly collected hundreds of terabytes of digital evidence, which includes years' worth of communications, videos, and other files. Without consistent access to this information, Diddy's team is at a disadvantage when it comes to reviewing and preparing responses to the prosecution's claims. The public and media have been glued to the case, and reactions have been mixed. Some fans continue to support Diddy, believing he will clear his name. Others, however, have turned against him, shocked by the disturbing details of the indictment, which includes claims of abuse, coercion, and exploitation. Public sentiment took a sharp turn when details of the freak-off parties were revealed. These parties, allegedly organized by Diddy, involved a variety of drugs and were often captured on video. Witnesses described a dark and twisted atmosphere where the lines between consent and coercion became blurred. According to the indictment, Diddy controlled these events with an iron fist, ensuring that everyone involved followed his commands. These revelations have left many people questioning the man they once admired. Diddy was known for his entrepreneurial spirit and success in the music industry, but the allegations against him have cast a long shadow over his career. Fans who once saw him as an icon are now grappling with the idea that their hero may have been involved in some truly horrifying activities. MDC Brooklyn has housed several high-profile inmates in the past, including R. Kelly, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Sam Bankman-Fried. Each of these cases has brought attention to the harsh realities of life in federal detention, and Diddy's case is no different. Bankman-Fried, the former cryptocurrency billionaire, was also housed in the same unit as Diddy. The two men, both facing legal battles that could end with life sentences, are navigating the same grim environment. For Diddy, the contrast between his former life and his current one couldn't be more stark. He's no longer throwing lavish parties or collaborating with A-list stars. Instead, he's waiting for his day in court, just like any other inmate. R. Kelly, who was convicted on multiple counts of sexual abuse, faced similar conditions at MDC. Like Diddy, Kelly went from a life of luxury to one of isolation and deprivation. Reports of his time at the detention center describe a man struggling to cope with the conditions, and it's likely that Diddy is feeling the same weight of his new reality. Diddy's next court date is set for October 9th, but legal experts believe this case could drag on for years. With the sheer amount of evidence and the complexity of the charges, it's unlikely that we'll see a quick resolution. As the case progresses, Diddy's defense team will likely face significant hurdles in countering the mountain of evidence prosecutors have gathered. The indictment describes a pattern of abuse, manipulation, and exploitation spanning more than a decade, involving numerous victims and witnesses who are expected to testify against him. Even though Diddy has pleaded not guilty, the weight of the evidence will be hard to ignore. If convicted, Diddy could face life in prison, a far cry from the luxurious life he's known for decades. This case could also severely damage his legacy in the music industry, as fans, colleagues, and business partners continue to distance themselves from him in the wake of the scandal. So what does Diddy's defense look like? His legal team is expected to argue that the government has no business digging into the private details of his personal life. They will likely claim that the sexual encounters were consensual and that the witnesses accusing him of exploitation were voluntarily involved in his circle, benefiting from his wealth and status. One defense strategy might involve discrediting the plaintiffs, suggesting that their motives are purely financial. Some members of Diddy's legal team have already alluded to this, stating that many of the accusations came from individuals who wanted to be in Diddy's celebrity circle and are now trying to profit from lawsuits. They've painted a picture of opportunistic plaintiffs attempting to capitalize on his success by leveraging sensational claims. However, the nature of the charges goes far beyond mere celebrity gossip. The government has built its case on serious allegations, including trafficking women across state lines for the purposes of prostitution, forced labor, and coercion. Prosecutors are not just targeting Diddy for questionable relationships. They are accusing him of running a criminal enterprise that violated federal laws. As Diddy's legal team prepares for a protracted court battle, they will likely focus on dismantling the credibility of witnesses and challenging the prosecution's interpretation of events. But given the scope of the charges, even a partial conviction could result in a lengthy prison sentence. Donald Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, spent a harrowing year in federal custody. He says for someone used to a life of luxury, like Diddy, prison life is a severe shock. You have a desk, you have a plastic chair, you have your bed with a 1.5-inch mattress, no pillow, and you also have a locker. So you basically have 3 feet by 5 feet to move around. So you have a basic 15 square feet. It is a horrible, horrible place. For someone who has spent decades at the top of the entertainment world, the psychological toll of being locked in solitary confinement is profound. According to experts like criminal defense attorney Imran Ansari, who has represented other high-profile clients, the transition from a life of luxury to a life behind bars can be particularly grueling for someone like Diddy. In his previous life, Diddy was used to being in control, whether it was overseeing multi-million-dollar business deals or managing his star-studded social circle. In prison, all that power is stripped away. Every aspect of his life, from when he eats to when he showers, is dictated by the rigid schedule of the MDC. The loss of autonomy can be deeply unsettling, especially for someone used to being the one calling the shots. The isolation of the shoe only amplifies these psychological pressures. Studies have shown that prolonged periods in solitary confinement can lead to anxiety, depression, and even hallucinations. Inmates in the SHU are cut off from meaningful human interaction, and the monotony of their daily routines can create a sense of hopelessness. For Diddy, this drastic change in environment is undoubtedly a shock to the system. Given his high-profile status, Diddy may also be dealing with additional stressors, such as concerns for his family and the public scrutiny surrounding his case. Reports indicate that he has been in contact with his children since his arrest, and his attorneys have emphasized that he is focused on his defense. But there's no denying that the pressure is mounting. Diddy has been placed on procedural suicide watch, a standard protocol for high-profile inmates or those considered at risk of harming themselves. While his legal team insists that he is not suicidal, the conditions of suicide watch are intense. Inmates are stripped of anything that could be used for self-harm, including shoelaces, belts, and even standard clothing. Instead, they are given tear-resistant paper garments and housed in cells with minimal furniture, just a bed and a blanket. The constant surveillance can also take its toll. Inmates on suicide watch are monitored around the clock, often by multiple guards at a time. For someone who has been accustomed to privacy and personal space, this level of scrutiny can feel invasive and dehumanizing. Moreover, being on suicide watch means Diddy has little to distract himself from the weight of his situation. Without access to electronic devices, he is cut off from the outside world. The radio he's allowed to use offers a small reprieve, but it pales in comparison to the lifestyle of instant connectivity and constant entertainment he's used to. The case against Diddy is part of a larger trend of high-profile figures being held accountable for their actions. The #MeToo movement has empowered victims to come forward with allegations of abuse and exploitation, even against some of the most powerful individuals in entertainment, business, and politics. Diddy's arrest and the charges against him echo the cases of figures like Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and R. Kelly, all of whom faced public and legal reckonings for their alleged misconduct. For many, Diddy's case is a reminder that no one, no matter how wealthy or influential, is above the law. The allegations against him are not just about celebrity scandal. They are about systemic abuse of power and the exploitation of vulnerable individuals. While Diddy's legal team will undoubtedly put up a strong defense, the sheer scale of the charges against him means that this case could have far-reaching implications, both for Diddy personally and for the broader entertainment industry. If convicted, Diddy's fall from grace will serve as a powerful statement about the consequences of abuse and the limits of celebrity protection. As Diddy navigates the brutal realities of prison life, the world continues to watch closely. From luxurious mansions, private jets, and chart-topping hits to the stark isolation of solitary confinement in one of the toughest detention centers in the country, his fall from grace is a stark reminder of how quickly fortunes can change. The man who once ruled the world of hip-hop and fashion, rubbing shoulders with Hollywood elites, is now living in conditions unimaginable to his former self. Gone are the days of opulence, replaced by the cold, claustrophobic walls of a prison cell, where every move is monitored and every luxury stripped away. His current situation may be temporary, but it's clear that the legal battle ahead will be long and arduous. The weight of the allegations, the high-profile nature of the case, and the overwhelming evidence presented by prosecutors suggest that this won't be an easy fight. Diddy may have built an empire based on resilience and hustle, but he now faces a different kind of challenge, one that could dismantle everything he's worked for, not just financially, but also in terms of his legacy. Will Diddy manage to clear his name, or is this the final chapter in the life of one of the music industry's most iconic figures? Even if he can fight off the criminal charges, will the public and his former allies welcome him back, or has his image been tarnished beyond repair? His reputation, career, and even his relationships with some of his closest peers in the industry are at stake. The road ahead is uncertain, and the outcome could not only change Diddy's life, but could send shockwaves through the entire music and entertainment world. Only time will tell whether this marks the end of Diddy's reign, or if he'll emerge with his legacy intact. One thing is for sure, the way he is being treated in prison is a far cry from the life of luxury he once led, and it stands as a testament to how fame and fortune are no shield against the law when serious allegations arise. As we watch this saga unfold, the question on everyone's mind is whether Diddy will weather this storm, or if he will forever be remembered for the scandal that brought him down. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Is this the end of Diddy's career? Or do you think he'll come out on top with his empire still standing? Could he regain the public's trust? Or has this scandal damaged his reputation irreparably? Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more updates as this case unfolds. We'll continue to keep you informed on everything related to Diddy's legal fight and how this story could redefine the music industry. Stay tuned for more.